Coming up on a special AOPA Live this week, direct from AirVenture 2012, Cessna introduces a brand new diesel engine Skylane. AOPA flies the Tuskegee Airmen, plus all the sights and sounds from Oshkosh. AOPA Live this week begins from AirVenture right now. Taking a look from high above, you can really get an idea of the scope of the world's greatest aviation celebration. Welcome to Oshkosh and welcome to AirVenture 2012. I'm Tom Haynes. We're across from the AOPA tent here at AirVenture. There's a lot going on this week that we want to tell you about. This year, AirVenture marks the 75th anniversary of the J3 Cub. We'll have more on that in just a moment. AirVenture is also saluting the greatest generation in the air. Those brave young men and women who flew bombers like the B-17 and the B-25, and fighters like the P-51 Mustang in defense of freedom. There is one special group of World War II airmen who are finally getting the recognition they deserve after all these years. They are the Tuskegee Airmen, the squad of African-American pilots who compiled one of the most impressive war records escorting B-17s on their daylight bombing runs over Europe. We at AOPA were extremely honored to be able to play a small part yesterday in recognizing these extraordinary airmen. The Commemorative Air Force asked us to help get some of these veterans to AirVenture. The AOPA Caravan picked them up yesterday in Chicago and flew them directly to Show Center.
I was a pilot in the 332nd Fighter Group. I was a so-called red-tail fighter pilot. I flew approximately 30 missions before I was shot down. And from that point on, through interrogation, Stalag Luft 7A in Nuremberg, then down to Moosburg, Stalag Luft 3A, where I was liberated on the 29th. I returned home on June the 28th, and I was 20 years old, too young to vote.
Well, the news generating the biggest buzz from the first few days of AirVenture came from Cessna. Right on the heels of the new Corvallis TTX that we flew a couple of weeks ago, Cessna unveiled two major upgrades to its single-engine line here at Oshkosh. The curtain dropped first on a Jet A fueled 182.
This is what the market has been begging for. We've talked with our customers all over. They've made it very clear what they want, and Cessna nailed it with this one. We're taking the proven performance, the proven confidence of a turbo 182, and we've married it with the latest engine technology with SMA and their 230 horsepower Jet A fueled engine. It sips only 11 gallons of gas per hour at a max cruise speed of 155 knots. I mean, that's 30 to 40% savings in fuel consumption compared to its avgas counterparts. It's got zero lead emissions, zero carbon monoxide emissions, and it's even less noise pollution.
And Cessna is re-engineering the Grand Caravan for better performance.
And the Grand Caravan EX the EX really stands for extra. We're looking for extra power, which is going to equate into extra climb, extra cruise, and extra range. So the Grand Caravan EX, we've gone from the Pratt & Whitney PT6 114 engine to the PT6A-140. What this engine does is it produces a shaft horsepower at 867 horsepower.
More horsepower means now the Grand Caravan, as well as the Caravan, can be outfitted with amphibious floats. There's a new option you can get with your new Cessna, the Maxviz Enhanced Vision System. We first experienced this system back in 2009 with our Cirrus sweepstakes airplane.
Maxviz is a company founded in 2001 that's solely dedicated to enhanced vision systems for aviation application. These are infrared-based imaging devices that are packaged for use in the aircraft environment, both low altitude and high altitude. Just imagine, if you will, if on this planet the sun never set and the visibility never went below 10 nautical miles, our system approaches that capability by providing the pilots with enhanced vision during periods of reduced visibility, such as nighttime. It turns night into day, basically, and it helps the pilot see through the system, through haze, smoke, and light fog, and basically fly safer through enhanced situational awareness.
You can watch a more in-depth video of the Maxviz system on AOPALive.org. A new Homebelt made its grand entrance at AirVenture, the Vans RV-14. It's a bit larger than what you've come to expect from the RV line. The aircraft will comfortably seat 2 large people. Its 210 horsepower Lycoming will give you a 193 miles per hour cruise and a 925 mile range. A lot of buzz this year about alternative fuels from MoGas to diesel. Lots being talked about, but what about no fuel at all?
Yeah, I'm a mechanical engineer, master's degree in business from University of Southern California, and been an inventor. Before becoming a pilot last week, I was a professional motorcycle racer. We built an electric superbike, and that holds the Guinness Book of World Records for the fastest electric motorcycle in the world. It went 201 miles an hour with the same powertrain that's in this electric Long Easy. This electric Long Easy is part of the R&D program for our Charles Lindbergh transatlantic all-electric flight for 2014. We flew it for its maiden flight on June 18th, and then June 19th we went out and set the world record 202.6 miles an hour. We believe in electric technology and electric powertrains, but batteries just aren't there today. And so our whole approach is recharging batteries while you're in flight along a known route and recollecting them at the end, recharging, putting them back in the infrastructure. The battery pack in this aircraft is a 450 volt, all lithium ion polymer battery pack. It can sustain 600 amps continuous output, so it's quite a powerful battery pack. This plane will go about 250 miles an hour. So for its second flight, we hit 202. The prop is a Cato prop. It's been custom designed for this aircraft. It's meant for an electric motor, which has no power pulses. 3,100 RPM at the prop is good for 250 miles an hour, and we have the horsepower to get it done. We have 258 horsepower in this aircraft. We're adding a refueling probe to this aircraft to test our mid-air refueling technology. So we'll use our Cessna to have a battery pack in it that will have a tether floating out the back, and we'll have a recharging probe on the front of this electric Long Easy that will couple with the Cessna 182 in flight and recharge the battery pack, and we'll have that in the next few months. I'm actually not a daredevil. I'm very conservative, very studious, but so I take calculated risks when I think it's appropriate. I will put my life at risk, but only in a very calculated way.
When we come back here at AirVenture, 75 years young, the little yellow airplane that started it all, and the tale of the Devil Dog Squad.
From your first skyward glance, the dream of flight compelled you. And from your first glimpse of a Cirrus, you realized that dream had a name. Cirrus Aircraft. Go where you've never been before.
The Pilot's Bill of Rights has passed a final legislative hurdle and is on its way to the President's desk. This is an important piece of legislation that gives pilots who are facing FAA enforcement efforts the opportunity to review the air traffic control and flight service station tapes that are involved in the case. It also gives pilots the opportunity to appeal to federal court in the case of a conviction by the FAA. Also, it gives the NTSB the opportunity to have more oversight in these cases. Well, one of the most interesting parts of Oshkosh is the arrival into the air show itself. The approach is quite unusual and the pattern is usually very busy, but that didn't stop AOPA President Craig Fuller from flying his personal Husky into the show. Craig landed Tuesday morning. He was excited to be at AirVenture.
Well, welcome to Oshkosh.
Hey, well, thanks a lot. I had a great flight out of Frederick yesterday, stopped in Aurora, Illinois, and woke up this morning and saw 2 humongous storm cells, but there was about a 60-70 mile gap in between them, and so as soon as the first one passed, I shot between them and got up here without any difficulty whatsoever. Nice low approach on runway 27, and I'm here. I'm looking forward to a great week here at Oshkosh.
From Wisconsin, Craig and his Husky are headed west to Wyoming. Many airplanes, including the Aviat Husky, can trace their lineage back to the Piper J3 Cub, and this is a really special year for that airplane, celebrating 75 years since it was first introduced. To mark the occasion, AOPA President Craig Fuller presented Piper CEO Simon Caldicott a poster of the July 1986 edition of AOPA Pilot magazine. It featured the Cub logo. Simon says Piper owes everything to the little yellow highway.
Obviously the Piper Cub really is the heritage of this company, and in my office I have a picture of a J3 Cub on my wall because that's where it all started.
You should really see it. There really is a literal sea of yellow Cubs here at AirVenture. AOPA Pilot Technical Editor Mike Collins went along as the Cubs flew into AirVenture.
Early on Sunday, July 22nd, 75 Piper J3 Cubs flew from Hartford, Wisconsin to Oshkosh. The hour-long flight was part of the Cubs to Oshkosh celebration, marking the venerable yellow airplane's 75th anniversary. But for their pilots, the journey began as much as a week earlier, as these aircraft left places as far away as Texas, Oregon, and California for Wisconsin. After AirVenture, these Cubs will begin their long journeys home. This is Mike Collins for AOPA Live.
Now the story of an historic airplane that is making history once again, except this time, it's who's flying it that's making it stand out.
My name is Beth Jenkins. I'm with the Devil Dog Squadron of the Commemorative Air Force. The Commemorative Air Force is the largest flying museum in the United States. We're a group that our sole purpose and our passion is to keep this airplane flying and keep this history alive.
But history isn't the only thing Beth is passionate about. With more than 20,000 hours and 26 years of experience, it's safe to say she loves to fly.
I have an airline transport pilot rating. I'm also rated to instruct in airplanes and gliders and type rated in the B-25. I was very privileged. The first time I got a ride in a warbird was the Yellow Rose B-25, and so since then I have a passion for the B-25s, and I'm honored to be able to fly this airplane. It's an awesome airplane to fly. This is one of the faster B-25s out there because it doesn't have all the turrets.
And there's something more to mention about her role in the left seat of Devil Dog.
In the United States, there are 3 women that are type-rated B-25 pilots, and I'm fortunate enough to be one of those women. This is one of the biggest privileges I could ever want. To sit here in an airplane and imagine what happened in the 40s and the 45s, where these guys are flying the airplane at 18, 19, 20 years old and going into combat and fighting for the freedoms we have today. It's such a wonderful, awesome honor. You know, my goal is to keep this airplane flying, and I've worked hard since '96, since I've been a member of it, and helped raise a lot of money to keep her flying. This airplane we've spent over $400,000 on, and with 2 new engines, the wing's been off for corrosion, the tail's been off twice for corrosion. I mean, tires, we've spent a lot of money to keep this restored. We take donations for t-shirts and hats to help keep her flying, because it costs a lot of money to operate at 150 gallons an hour. So it's a expensive endeavor, but it's the mission of giving this history, giving these kids of today, let them know what our fathers and forefathers did for the freedoms we have today is very important.
She has another mission too, to inspire by her example, and she has some advice.
Anybody who wants to be a pilot, or anything they want to do, work hard at it. If you want it bad enough, you can do it. So you work hard, have your goal, and go for it, because you can do it.
Eric Brown, AOPA Live.
When we come back here at AirVenture, using aviation to improve education. Stronger Together is the theme adopted by the alphabets, AOPA, EAA, NBAA, HAI, and other organizations here at AirVenture. The CEOs of the groups are gathered to explain how all of them are working together to make general aviation stronger.
But the issue that I think we are focused on and in some ways worrying about the most is the decline in the pilot population. EAA is to be congratulated for an extraordinary effort to bring young people into aviation. It certainly worked dramatically when you hear those numbers, and then I congratulate you again on expanding that to other individuals beyond youth who want to get involved in aviation. What we've discovered is, to our great concern, combined concern, is that something like 70 to 80% of the people who get that interest, have that motivation, go out and sign up for flying and become a student pilot. 70 to 80% of them never become a private pilot. So we invested time and money and research to identify what proved to be 47 factors that contribute to a successful flight training experience. We spent a year talking to the flight training community. It was a very valuable experience because it's won their support for what we're talking about. Rod and I were together here in Oshkosh just a couple months ago talking about where we are, and at this show we are sharing field guides that were developed, one for the student pilot, one for the flight instructor, and one for the flight training organization, that we're going to work together to get in the hands of individuals who are both interested in learning to fly and people who are engaged in flight training, because we cannot allow the people who are motivated to go flying through the kind of wonderful programs that EAA has to then fall out of the system.
EAA is launching a new program to help build general aviation and the pilot population. Building on its successful Young Eagles program, EAA calls it Eagle Flight.
This year is the 20th anniversary of the Young Eagle program. There is no question that Young Eagles has had a significant impact on regeneration of aviation. With over 1.7 million kids flown in the last 20 years, we have generated over 19,000 pilots that are former Young Eagles in this country. 7.3% of the pilot population below the age of 35 are former Young Eagles, so we've had a significant impact. We have confirmed through our research that there is an older demographic that still thinks flying is very cool and they're very interested in flying, and specifically that demographic has now the time and the money, the ability to fly.
AOPA President Craig Fuller had the chance to speak with a number of teachers. He told them how he got interested in aviation at a young age. He told them of AOPA's efforts to get young people interested in flying. Fuller addressed the room of several dozen educators at the EAA Museum. One program working to generate interest in aviation among youth is the Build-A-Plane program. They donate actual airplanes to schools for kids to build or refurbish.
Well, it's amazing. I mean, each and every project that we begin typically produces stories that bring tears to your eyes. You know, when kids will tell you that they weren't doing well in school, or they didn't like school, or they didn't find a reason to even be at school, but suddenly an airplane showed up in their school. And when an airplane shows up in their school, there's actually a bit of magic that occurs. I can't tell you that it's all Build-A-Plane, but amazing things happen. Kids get real excited about it. Kids go on to be pilots. Kids go on to be A&P mechanics, air traffic controllers, engineers, you name it. It's a fun, hands-on, real-world experience that they can see makes sense to them right here and now.
One place that Build-A-Plane is building success is at Campbellsville, Kentucky at Taylor County High.
I think if you look at how you can impact the education in your classroom, looking at the STEM that is out, aviation is a compact way to introduce all of it. It applies every aspect of it with the curriculum that the kids can see careers, they can apply it, they can walk out and see it at their airport. It's all around them.
STEM, science, technology, engineering, math. STEM is the new mantra in education, and for good reason. When you rank the kids of the world for math and science skills, U.S. high school kids don't even crack the top 20. Now programs like Build-A-Plane are using aviation to stem the falling tide in technical achievement.
When they throw in Algebra 2 and chemistry and all that stuff, I mean, I couldn't make the connections in between the topics. But then as soon as I applied aviation to it, chemistry, like the fuels, the metals, and stuff that you use in planes, I mean, it's clicked.
What the kids and what we were learning was that as they started to realize how much math and how much of the engineering when we were going through the materials were involved, I think, especially with the wing design, they were reading graphs, coefficient of lift, coefficient of drag. All of a sudden they were going, well, that was in our math class, and I'm going, yes.
Building and restoring donated aircraft provide kids a real-world application for learning science, technology, engineering, and math.
So we've got this plane now at the hangar, and then now the kids are able to start actually working on a plane. And that is our lab time. We go over there one day a week, we see what has to be done, and then the A&P mechanics come in after school and work with these kids.
The A&Ps donate their time too.
We see so many of the kids that they're not learning disabled, they have learning differences. Some of them learn through their fingertips, some of them learn visually, some of them learn different ways. Some of them This is just an interest that keeps them in school and learning. And it's almost like the specialness of the airplanes keeps them interested long enough for them to finish school and to succeed at school.
And it's a learning process for the teacher. Deborah Hinton just recently soloed.
As a teacher, I really have strong beliefs that if I'm going to expect my students to be able to do something, I should have experienced what I'm asking them to do.
She's really a good role model because she's never thought about flying a plane. Like before she took on this class, she was just another teacher at the high school. And as soon as they brought it up, she jumped on it. She was like, okay, I've never tried this, I'll do it. And she pulls in the physics aspect, so she kind of gets a good idea of what's going to happen. And me and her took the same ground school with the same CFI, and I'm sitting there thinking, clicking, and you hear her over there mumbling to herself, okay, so this principal's doing this principal's doing that, so this works.
But what really works is using aviation to turn kids on to science, technology, engineering, and math. At AirVenture, War on Morningstar, AOPA Live.
Well, that's it for AOPA Live this week today at AirVenture, but we'll be back tomorrow with lots more news and information from the show. I'm Tom Haynes. Thanks for watching.